Today's cocktail calls for a cinnamon simple syrup, so we're going to make that first. That'll be 1 cup of water, and this is going to be a semi-rich syrup, so instead of a 1-to-1 ratio, it's 1.5 sugar to 1 cup of water. And in this one, we're putting a brown sugar in to make it even more rich and luscious, since it's going to be a tiki recipe.
And what else is going to go in this pot?
Nothing. After it's all dissolved, we're going to simmer 4 cinnamon sticks in it for 2 minutes.
All right.
Now that everything's dissolved, we're going to steep 4 cinnamon sticks in this for 2 minutes. Today we're making the Tiger's Claw, a tequila-based tiki drink, and I've just been informed we've done all tiki drinks so far. So we're going to start with 2 dashes of orange bitters.
And how many drinks will this make?
1.
Okay.
And then let's see, 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lime juice. And then 1 ounce of pineapple juice. I'm sure fresh would be better, but that's not a thing here.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Then cinnamon syrup, which we just made. How much of that do we need? 1/2 ounce.
That turned out delicious.
It's delicious. Then it calls for a coffee liqueur. I have this just because needed it for just 1 drink and it was the cheapest. Sometimes that happens. Other things don't skimp on. And then 2 ounces of a reposado tequila. There's reposado and añejo and just sort of a blanco. A blanco's just aged in like anything. A reposado's aged up to a year in an oak barrel, and an añejo is aged longer. That is tequila lore. This is a fancy one that I got for Christmas. 2 ounces. Now we'll crush some ice in my fancy ice crushing bag. It's really fun if you've had a bad day. Dump that into our shaker. Shake. Sort of want it to like get all cold looking on the outside. Dump it in glassware, what we should have got earlier. Garnish with mint. Woo!
All right.
The
Try it.
Tiger's Claw. Wow, that's legit. Want to try it?
Yeah.
We've had our cocktails. Welcome back to another episode of Retire Boldly, Alaska to France. This week's episode, we're going to go over the checklist that we have started, and this is all the stuff you need to do starting between 24 and 18 months before you actually make the move. So we're starting the process early so that there are no surprises.
So I can fall behind sooner.
So you can have way more time to procrastinate. It's so much more fun that way.
Yeah.
No, we're doing good. Eric started to clean out the garage and getting rid of some stuff, and
That'll be a whole future episode, everything I have to deal with.
in the garage, yeah.
Liquidate.
So this is 18 to 24 months before the departure date, and that is where we're at right now. We have chosen our date that we are shooting for, which will be around the 1st of November of 2026. So lots and lots of stuff to get through, and just this week, I've been so glad that we started the process early because a lot of things have come up that I was really glad we were able to start taking care of them before they got...
Without a frantic panic.
Yeah, for a frantic panic. All right, so the first question, of course, is it right for you? A lot of people don't agree with our desire to move out of the country and have a lot of opinions about it. And if it's not right for you, it's not right for you. But it is right for us. Yeah, it's right for us. You've wanted to live abroad, and I have lived abroad, so...
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is not something that feels very foreign to us, and not a pun. But for some people, it may not be right for them. It may be great to think about it as an abstract, you were saying earlier, but when it comes down to it, it is very different. It is making a decision to create an entirely different lifestyle from top to bottom, and that is not for everybody.
No.
Yeah. So make sure that this is the right move for you, and maybe you can just go over for a year. You know, some people, if you're not sure and you haven't really done anything like that before, probably a sabbatical. Maybe just say, I'm going to go over and spend a year, and you could rent your house out and just head on over and
just do a whole term of a tourist visa.
Right. Just stay for a year and see if you like it, see if you like the lifestyle, see if you like the slower pace. I hear a lot of people who do that decide to never come back. So, but it's always good to test those things out if you don't have any experience moving abroad or living in a foreign country of any kind. So it can be very different.
Second on the checklist is deciding which region in France you want to live. And I don't know, for me, I love research and very curious person and a huge student of history. So I'm familiar with a lot of regions of France. So this has been really fun for me to just look at the map and go, oh, look here, down here, down here.
He knows what happened everywhere.
Yeah. And then just gathering more information like, oh, there's like, it's always warmer down here, and it snows up here, and the Tour de France is always in the Alps and the Pyrenees.
That's
and,
mostly what he's considering is which towns the Tour de France might go through. So, we recommend narrowing it down to 2 or 3. We have decided upon somewhere around Bordeaux, the Nouvelle Aquitaine area, Villeneuve-sur-Lot. That region, it's nice and warm, but not super hot.
Yep.
We have watched the weather patterns in France, and it is starting to get hotter and hotter along the Mediterranean, which, you know, we're not crazy. We know that it would probably be awful if we bounced from Alaska into a really hot climate.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be miserable, but we certainly would like to be warm.
Yeah.
And I do love the seasons, so I don't mind it, you know, change of the seasons. I would really like to experience that. We kind of have rain, and then a little bit of sun, and then some more rain. So I'd love to have the 4 seasons. And so that region of France is one that we have zeroed in on for many reasons. What are some other things that we found and why we settled on that region?
It's They have an extensive rail network, so transportation to the rest of the country and to airports and other places we'd like to visit, or just
The ocean.
yeah.
Bordeaux is not far from the ocean. There's also some really beautiful rivers, so we'd like to live close to water still. Yeah.
And then food, I don't know, it's hard to find anywhere where there's an amazing food. And then medical stuff, all your big cities seem to have some sort of grand hospital and like a medical school and college towns. So like there's young people and cool things going on. Still like to go out and see live music and whatnot. See what the kids are up to.
Yeah. So another thing that I think is really important is to make a trip there, if at all possible, and explore the particular region that you are thinking of living in. So I am going over in October, and I'm going to be traveling around that area to just get a vibe for what the neighbors are like over there. You know, what would it be like to live in a little hamlet? Maybe I might enjoy being in a city more, or maybe a mid-sized village, I don't know. And then I'll be communicating back with Eric and Chris the whole time and saying, okay, I found this nice little town. And, you know, I'm kind of a scout. My job allows me to be more liberal with travel in the wintertime. And so I can travel like this, and whereas they are stuck here to...
And just to make sure we're not moving to the French equivalent of like industrial New Jersey or something.
What's wrong with New Jersey?
Industrial New Jersey, where all the plants
New Jersey is just fine.
And if you're in New Jersey, I apologize. We don't even know.
We don't even know.
Just based on the opening scenes of Sopranos.
Okay. Eric's going to go and Kirsty's going to hop in. Okay. Bye. The next thing on the list is to make a budget. Can you afford it? And it's not just about moving there and living. It's not just about the cost of living once you get there. It's also about, can you afford to fly there? Can you afford to ship all your stuff there? A lot of people are like, I'm going to take my car. No, you're
the
probably
taxes
not.
and everything.
It's crazy.
I mean, unless you have some sort of custom DeLorean or something, you just don't want to.
Custom DeLorean.
Everything I've read is like rent, don't buy, don't ship.
Right.
Because they have a lot of different laws about that.
Yeah. So we have a plan for vehicles. That's going to be a whole episode, because we live in one of the states where you cannot just turn in your driver's license and get a French license in return. There's only 11 states that allow that. We are not one of them. So we have come up with a solution, which we will cover in future videos. So there's also the cost of a mutual insurance. So we all have to get a policy that covers you for the first year that you are there. We are obviously going to be applying to be a part of to get a carte vitale, which is part of the medical system, but we will also have our own medical policy.
Which can happen sooner than a year, but it's just nice to be covered.
Right, yeah. And you can keep that, and so that it tops you off, and you can keep that medical coverage,
covers all the extras.
Covers any extras.
Anything, if you have pre-existing, everybody I've read online, oh, I can't go, I have pre-existing, they won't let me in the system.
No,
they absolutely will. Similar to what I have here for critical care, they have the same thing over there for long-term disabilities or long-term issues. I've also researched all the medication I take. It's all available over there. These are things you need to look into, because you're going to want to make sure you have a certain amount before you go of medication, so you don't just show up going, hey, I need my meds, I'm here day one. No. Make sure.
Got to plan in advance. The next item, number 4, is start getting all of your documents in a row. Make sure that you have a passport, and I believe that you need a passport that's not going to expire within 2 years of applying for your visa. You also need to get all of your financial statements. So this might mean your savings and checking account, a statement of your Social Security income, statement of your income from, if you have a financial portfolio, how much are you taking out of that financial portfolio every month? They're going to ask for all of that. And some of those need to be transcribed into French. And that has to be done by an official service. It can't just be Chat GPT, you plug it in and it pumps it out for you. It can't be that. It's got to be actual official translation services. You also need marriage certificates. You need all kinds of stuff. So start building a binder. I have a box in my office that just says France on it, and everything goes into that box that I need to keep track of. So make sure you get all your ducks in a row. Then you need to look at number 5, visa requirements. We will be applying for long-term stay visas, all 3 of us. And but there's different visas. So if you go on to the France visa website, you can do that. One reason that you need to do this as far in advance as possible is the issue that we ran into is I went to the French visa website, I clicked on the button to say, I want to make an appointment because an appointment a year in advance does not hurt my feelings. I want to make sure I've got it. Well, the link to that website was broken and there was no phone number to call. So I had to jump through a bunch of hoops just to find an email address. Couldn't find one that went anywhere. And the only thing I could find was an address. So a couple of days ago, I sent a certified letter and said, I'm going to make an appointment. Please, somebody respond to me because Seattle is the closest office, but we may end up having to go to like LA or something. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to do that. You can apply for your visa, but you have to then go someplace also in person and apply in person with all of your documents. In future episodes, we'll walk you through everything that it takes, what we have had to put together in order to apply so that you can do the same thing. So we'll have checklists for that as well.
Yes. So you're planning on going, you have a date, but it's better to start with that date and move back so you have exactly everything you need. In our case, we have pets that have to see a certain kind of veterinarian, a certain amount of time before we go. All those things, you need to pick your date first and then move back from that. Otherwise, right. If you're, all of a sudden it's here.
Yeah.
And I don't have everything done.
Right.
You don't want to do it that way. You want to do it more from back to front, right. I think.
So even though it's more than a year away, I contacted our veterinarian, and I was really glad that I did because we found out that 2 of our dogs, their chips are under different accounts, and so we had to get our accounts merged, and they said, that's going to take 6 weeks. And then we found out that Louie, her dog, is under me. So
I was fostering him on weekends when I first got him, and so I didn't have him the full time. And now that I do, unless you're planning on taking him with you, which you already got 3 dogs you're taking with you. Yeah, we got to fix that.
So this is why we do this a year in advance. So we're going to get that sorted out. We've got plenty of time to do it. So all of the dogs have to be chipped. All of the dogs have to have a rabies vaccine within a certain amount of time. And then they have to have, is it a USDA?
The USD vet has to check them out.
And the vet that we both use is a USDA vet.
I was going to ask if there was one in Ketchikan. Yeah. That makes me so happy. Yeah. Having to drag them elsewhere would be horrible.
They can do all the paperwork for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's great. But we have to make sure, when they arrive in France has to be within 10 days of them getting that medical thing. And as you can imagine, traveling from Alaska, we have to overnight in Seattle. Mm-hmm. Then we have to get on another plane. And we were, trying to figure out how do we get these dogs there without putting them in a cargo hold. Thankfully, Alaska Airlines that we primarily use, you can fly them all the way to New York. They can be in the seat next to you in a kennel. Yep. So they have some different rules, probably because of the Iditarod. A lot of dogs travel on Alaska Airlines.
Right.
So we're able to coordinate that with Alaska Airlines and get them all the way to New York. But then you got to think about, we want them to have a minute to breathe after they've come from Ketchikan, overnight in Seattle. Then we got to go to New York. So you're adding up the days, and you don't want to keep them drugged up all the time. So it's a very delicate balance of the timing to get there. So that's why it's very important. Choose your date of departure and then work backwards from there. Okay, number 8, want to cover start
learning French now. I've been looking up French words. I can't necessarily right now afford to have a system to learn, but you can learn without one. You don't really have to pay for it right away. Later, I'll be taking classes when I move there. They have a fantastic educational system there for
We
that.
will be taking immersive French courses wherever we're at. We're choosing a place that will have access to that kind of thing. I'm doing Rosetta Stone, which I was doing Duolingo, but when I moved to Rosetta Stone, I found it way better. I think Rosetta Stone kind of was, much better than Duolingo, but they both offered great advantages to learning the language.
Sure.
And then we'll take an immersive French course and meet people who are also trying
And
to
we're
learn the
already
language.
watching French television shows and listening to the cadence, and that's very important. A lot of words are very, very similar. So
Anything that ends in a T-I-O-N is French.
And I actually understand well more than I'm ever probably going to be able to
it's
speak.
crazy.
But I absolutely understand and can order food and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's really important. They have a different system there. They greet each other. They don't just walk by
Kind
or
of
whatever.
like, I was thinking about that today. Like Alaskans, when we walk down the street, we smile and say hello. And I would always say hello to somebody. I can't imagine walking into a store or something and not
Right.
saying hi.
It's because we live in a very small town. You go down south and you don't talk to anybody.
I'm sure that's not true. I say hi. I say hi. Okay,
just-
I might be crazy, but I say hi.
Right, but we're also grew up where you don't have to lock your doors.
Right, yeah, we don't lock our doors.
In Seattle.
No, I lock them. I lock them in case
Yes.
anybody is
Yes.
watching. I
Yes,
lock them.
She locks them. And it has curtains. It is such an Alaskan thing, I'm not going to lie. I've lived down south way too long. We have curtains and triple locks, and the cars never open.
What if I got a curtain for it? I look out onto the wilderness and the ocean. Nobody's looking in here but
talking
eagles. You know, whatever. The neighbors know me. So these are the 8 things you should be handling between 18 and 24 months. We're kind of trying to knock those out of the park and get ahead of everything so that we can move on to the next step. I am like a super planner, so I'm like trying. I want to
We've
do
done
stuff.
so much research,
Yeah, I
and we
wanna
look at
do
houses
stuff.
all the time and places to live. And,
Which does you no good because
Right.
they're not going to be for sale when you go, but it's really fun to look
and
at the
we're going to
places.
rent first anyway,
Yeah.
but it's just nice to have some idea of what they have available.
Yeah, and that's how we started. We got hooked in and we're like, what? That place?
$1,000 for 9 rooms?
I
What?
know, crazy.
And they're finished? Yeah. This isn't something where you have to work. No.
Right. So, the dogs wanted to be in the video. So, that's our checklist for 18 to 24 months. On future videos, we'll start to get further and further down the line. And we hope that you like and subscribe. Come back for more cocktails.
Yes.
And more
And
information.
more dogs.
And more dogs. And we hope you follow along on our journey from Alaska to France. Bonjour. No,
Bonjour.
wrong. We hope you will follow along on our journey from Alaska to France. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.